The Sergeant Frog English dub is one of my favorites as it has a unique script. You can tell that Funimation really had a lot of fun when working on this dub, and why the hell not? This show is a comedy about space frogs invading Earth and being bad at it. The platoon's leader would rather absorb Japanese culture than destroy it. It makes me wonder if Gabriel's dropout was inspired by Keroro Gunso. So keeping in spirit with my first Sergeant Frog video and highlighting the differences between the manga and the anime, we're going to take a look at the original version and the dubbed version of one of my favorite episodes. Episode 23, the one with the multi-Keroros. The English version is way different because Funimation added this whole subplot where the narrator quit and was replaced by someone else.
By the way, I'm the new narrator.
Having watched some of the subversion of Keroro Gunso, I know that narrator isn't as involved as its English counterpart in Sergeant Frog. So I've taken notes on how this episode was handled from its English perspective as well as the Japanese. So here we go. First things first, the episode opens up with the title card. In Japanese, the episode is called Panic, Hinata Household's Wildest Day Ever. In English, Handsome Keroro presents The Clone Wars, the unsucky version. From here, in Sergeant Frog, the narrator chimes in about the Star Wars reference before the spaceship arrives. In Keroro Gunso, it is silent until the spaceship arrives. Keroro's superiors tell Keroro that the Keroro ball has this instant repair function and that he can use the ball for duplication, as they wondered why he still fails to conquer the enemy. In the English version, Keroro blames the ball for being broken as to why he hasn't used it. This shows up during the screwed text section, leading the higher ups to tell them about the instant repair function. Once Keroro wakes up from his dreams, in Keroro Gunso, Keroro vaguely remembers the instant repair function and opts to use it for his Gundams, but the narrator doesn't chime in. In Sergeant Frog, Keroro wonders how the ball can help him and decides to use it on his Gundams. The narrator chimes in about how he could use it to complete his mission. In the scene where Keroro is already making multiple copies of himself, the narrator doesn't comment at all about the multiple Keroros. In the English version, this is where we get the subplot about the narrator wanting to quit because he said he would if there was ever a plot about multiple Keroros. He's complaining and eventually quits during the conversation with Fuyuki, Natsumi, and Keroro. This doesn't happen in the Japanese version as it was exclusive to the English version, and thus the narrator stays silent. In the scene with Angel, in Keroro Gunso, Angel calls Keroro the fake one because of the stars on his belly and head. The narrator chimes in to say that she doesn't get the fake versus real Keroro at all. Angel assumes the fake Keroros are the real ones since they all look the same, and the real one is the imposter because he looks slightly off, kinda like a knockoff. And in Sergeant Frog, Angel recognizes the real Keroro is her uncle, but she can't be certain as there's no way to tell, opting for Keroro to show her the stars on his body, but she also calls him a fake too. After Angel gives Keroro the idea to use the clones to kickstart the invasion, in the Japanese version, Keroro promises to give Natsumi and Fuyuki the proper status after the invasion. In the English version, he promises to keep them around as pets, and he will name one Fluffy and the other
Captain Narwhal.
During the cooking scene, Keroro gives advice to his clones. In Keroro Gunso, Keroro's advice is that everyone should learn how to cook for themselves. In the English version, his advice is to use the light tossed in the pan, otherwise there would be food everywhere. And finally, for the end, part 1 of the episode, in Keroro Gunso, the ghost is creeped out and the narrator wonders how a ghost can get the creeps. In Sergeant Frog, the ghost gets creeped out, and the new narrator introduces herself, saying that the previous guy quit because the show ruined his credibility. And she also says that you know it's bad if the ghost is creeped out. Part 2 of the episode opens up with the narrator introducing the household and all the parts that the Keroro clones have occupied. In the English version, the new narrator introduces the episode but fumbles the pronunciations and states that she doesn't normally do Japanimation. The scene where the clones' eyes turn red and they talk in unison, the clones say Siege Keron in the Japanese version. In the English version, they say Keroro in unison. So there's a difference between the Japanese version and the English version, where the Japanese version is referring to Keron, the planet that the frogs are from. In the English version, they lean into worshipping Keroro. Keroro's speech in Japanese and English are also a bit different. In the Japanese version, he says, "Our secret weapon was taken from us and destroyed. Why?" In English, he tells his clones that they should ask the Picoponians as to why they took the Keroro ball and damaged it, and why did they make it so that he doesn't know how to use it. After Keroro attacks his squad, Fuyuki gets upset and asks Keroro how he could do this to his friends in Keroro Gunso. In Sergeant Frog, Fuyuki breaks the fourth wall, pointing out that this plotline is too similar to the previous episode, referencing when Tamama became drunk with power when he was the leader, Keroro being drunk with power as well. Kululu's explanation about the Keroro's fading is explained using terms that applies to their species and planet. The kanji in the scene match Kululu's words. In English, Kululu's explanation is generic science talk. During the countdown, Keroro notes that he begins to feel weaker as his clones are fading, and Tamama chimes in to say that it was an honor to serve him. In the English version, he says that this is the price that he has to pay for being a demigod, and Tamama says something about something being irrelevant. I don't know, I couldn't really understand him.
But if you die, my class and shrine will become completely irrelevant!
In the scene with Angel talking on the phone, in Keroro Gunso, Angel reveals that someone insulted her father. In Sergeant Frog, this first part of the conversation is kept vague, but she tells her father to go cry in the bathroom. While Fuyuki is holding Keroro and Fuyuki have this mostly straight conversation. After Fuyuki points out that the two of them have never been snow hiking, but that they can always go next time. Keroro says that he does not regret dying for this mission. In Sergeant Frog, Keroro digresses into how much he hates snow and hiking instead of the not regret dying part. When Sabaru shows up, both narrators explain the pen. However, in English, the new narrator explains the pen, but she's also confused, and she also pops in a few times to talk about the old narrator and his credibility. And so when Sabaru draws a new Keroro ball, in the Japanese version, Natsumi asks if the drawing could actually save Keroro. In the English dub, Natsumi breaks the fourth wall, claiming that Sabaru wasn't in the first episode. Also, when Fuyuki presses the button, the new narrator pops in to talk about how this isn't funny, and while all the clones fades, she quits. At the end of the episode, the Japanese narrator is ready to wrap up the episode by stating that Keroro never touched the Keroro ball again, but then he's surprised when the words several days later appear. Keroro sneaks into the room saying that he still wants to use the Keroro ball to fix his Gundam models. After Fuyuki stops Keroro, the narrator closes the episode by confidently saying that Keroro never touched the Keroro ball again. In the English version, the original narrator shows up saying that he decided that we couldn't live without him and that it's okay because there's only one Keroro now. Keroro enters the room saying he hasn't learned any lessons and that he's sure some of the buttons still work. Fuyuki stops Keroro by saying that he will tell the scariest story involving Keroro, scaring Keroro from touching the ball. The narrator closes the episode by saying the same thing that the Japanese narrator said, but adding a line about paying his gambling bets.
Pay his gambling debts.
And there you have it, Sergeant Frog versus Keroro Gunso. The purpose of this video isn't to claim that one is better than the other, but to showcase how they're different. I really like the work that Funimation did when dubbing this episode. The English version is unique in this way, and for me, Sergeant Frog holds a special place in my heart because of it. I also like that the show breaks the fourth wall and references previous episodes. It's pretty cool. Keroro Gunso has the merit of being the original version, and using Japanese jokes that make more sense to the comedy. But I also like how it plays some of the scenes straight. And I also want to point out that the subtitles are still translations into English, so some of the things may have gotten lost in translation and some of the nuances may also be lost. Either way, this was a fun episode and I'm happy to have made a second Sergeant Frog video. If you like this video and you want to see more, then subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up and comment down below what's your favorite episode. Share this video out to others and hit that bell notification thing. I'm finding out that a lot of people aren't seeing my videos and this is a small channel, so anything and truly anything really helps. Bye, ciao.